you are in for a treat. She is just wonderful. She knows the statistics, and I believe this is the 25th anniversary of Colorado Children's Campaign Kids Count presentation, and she'll bring that in, and I've heard her speak, and I love that she comes here, that Colorado Children's Campaign comes here, because then they also say, and relevant to El Paso County. So we have the treat of not only hearing Colorado, but El Paso County statistics. So Sarah Hughes is the Vice President for Research Initiatives, and it's my pleasure to introduce Sarah.
All right, I told myself if I made it up on stage in these heels without tripping, we'd be halfway to a successful presentation, so I'm glad that we're there. Good morning, everyone. As Jackie mentioned in her very lovely introduction, my name is Sarah Hughes, and I'm the Vice President for Research Initiatives at the Colorado Children's Campaign. And I just wanted to start by giving a huge thank you again to our panel this morning. They were phenomenal, and they did not see this presentation ahead of time, but they literally managed to touch on every single issue that I'll be touching on in the presentation today. So really my job is done, but I'm just here to kind of give you some numbers to go along with the challenges and the successes that were brought up by the panel this morning. So I'm excited to be here to do that. And as Riley mentioned this morning, this is a really important time to be talking about kids. As he mentioned, we will have a new governor, no matter what, for the first time in 8 years next year. We have some really big initiatives on the ballot this year with the potential to impact Colorado kids for decades to come. And then we'll have a lot of new state legislators, senators, and representatives who are going to be making important decisions about all of the children and communities across our state. And so during this time, when election seasons get crazy, I think it's even more important than ever for all of us in this room, child advocates, to be elevating children's issues with our candidates and our representatives. Because as some of our elected officials can probably tell you, when you are an elected official, people come to you to talk about all sorts of different issues. They want to talk about oil and gas issues, agriculture, water rights, small business issues, all very important things. But a lot of the time, children's issues can get lost in the mix because we know that kids can't vote. Most kids, these young kids, can't go to candidates' town halls to make their voices heard. And so it's really upon all of us in this room who care about children and who work with children and families to keep beating the drum with our candidates and with our elected officials. And I know sometimes that can be really scary. It can be scary to stand up and advocate for something. Because you often feel like you need to be a complete and total expert. You need to have the answer to every single question if you're going to call your elected official or your candidate and talk about an issue. And first, I'm here to say that everybody in this room already is an expert. You all work with kids and families daily, for many of you, and you know very, very well the challenges that our kids across Colorado and here in El Paso County are facing. But I know even with that knowledge, it can sometimes be intimidating. So I'm here today to hopefully help you feel even more comfortable and confident advocating for the children that you work with by providing some numbers to go along with the expertise that all of you already have. So we'll spend some time today going through some of the information in our Kids Count in Colorado report. And as Jackie mentioned, this is the 25th anniversary of the Kids Count report, and you can see all the past covers right here. You can see some really fascinating hairstyles from the early 1990s editions of the reports. Those are really entertaining to look through. But we'll spend some time going through some of the highlights for El Paso County. For some of them, we'll be able to look back over 25 years to see how things have changed. And then for others, we'll give a snapshot of how things stand today. And then toward the end, we'll have some time for some discussion and some questions and answers. But right now, we'll go ahead and dive right in. So the first issue that I'll talk about, and that was raised many, many times and very effectively by our panel this morning, is family economic security. You heard many of the panelists mention the impact that poverty has on children, and in particular young children. We know that a lot of the experiences that come along with poverty, things like not having enough food, not having a stable place to call home, wondering where children are going to be sleeping at night, all of those experiences have a really detrimental impact on children's brain development. And so child poverty is an issue that we have highlighted consistently throughout Kids Count's 25-year history. And we can take a look at how child poverty has changed over the last couple of decades. For those of you, how many people here have seen a Kids Count presentation before, maybe in the last few years? All right, about half and half. Many of you have probably heard us talk about one of those presentations, the rapidly increasing rate of child poverty in Colorado for a while. Back in the 2000s, so between 2000 and 2010, Colorado had one of the fastest growing rates of childhood poverty in the entire country, which is very surprising for a lot of people. Fortunately, I'm here today with some good news, which is that in recent years, we have kind of seen that trend reverse itself. So our child poverty rate here in Colorado peaked at 18% in 2012. That's about 1 in every 6 children experiencing poverty in that year. And then since then, we've seen, thankfully, the child poverty rate steadily declining, down to 13% in 2016. And I'm really excited about this, which shows you how nerdy I am. We actually just got brand new child poverty data for 2017 this morning, so you guys will be among the first to hear the new number. We haven't even sent out the email to our staff yet. But the new 2017 numbers show that the child poverty rate for Colorado fell again, down to 12%. So that's now the lowest that the poverty rate for kids has been since 2002. Very, very encouraging. However, as the panelists mentioned, poverty isn't really always an effective measure of the total number of children who are struggling to get by, because you can be, as the cost of living has increased here in Colorado, you can be living well above the poverty line and still really struggling to make ends meet. But I think when we're talking about these challenging issues, it's important to celebrate the little victories, so we will celebrate that lower child poverty rate and that good news that we got this morning. The not so good news is that if we take the long-term view and we go all the way back to 1989, those are those dots that you see here, we haven't made a ton of long-term progress on child poverty in Colorado. Back in 1989, about 15% of our kids were living in poverty. We're now down to 12%. And of course, we'd like to see a lot more progress than that over the last 20 plus years. And I know that 13% can often mask the big differences that we see in child poverty across the state of Colorado. We know that